Hi, it's Isabella here. Welcome back to my channel, my friends. Today, I'm gonna share one good news with you. I finally got the offer from the United Nations headquarters in New York. Hooray! Yes, one of my dreams just came true. I'm so thrilled. But yeah, this story isn't just about that moment. So today I'm gonna share some of my experience and lessons taken out. I hope this will speak to you in some way or another. So I will begin with my application timeline. Around the same time last year, I was completing my thesis while applying to the positions at the United Nations. The process was irregular first, submitting a few applications and then pausing for a week. But what truly makes it difficult was the silence. Most of the time, you hear nothing. A friend I knew from an international program who works there told me so with a wry smile. Yes, that is how it is. Until you got a reply. It's like you are in a black box. Then the turning point came. Last December, after returning from my graduation trip, I decided to focus entirely on my applications. I applied to many applications and got several interview calls. The interviewers were all kind and even warm, giving me the feeling that they're gonna hire me in the next second. But what followed was somewhat typical. Thank you for your interest. However, we regret to inform you, blah blah blah. And around February, I began to question myself. Should I continue? Was I deluding myself? And then by mid-March, I gave myself a final boundary. If nothing arrived by the end of the month, I would pivot toward another opportunity, maybe work in Japan. Because each polite refusal left a quiet mark. Then on March 22nd, a non-expected message appeared in my mailbox. It was my offer! I still remember it was at 5 a.m. I stood there, reading it again and again, unbelievably, and then shouting, jumping, and insanely hitting my wardrobe. It's very funny, I bet. It turns out that my applications and my efforts in silence finally answered back. The above is about my experience, and in the following parts, I'd like to share with you some of the lessons I take out from this whole application season. On that day, the first person I wrote to was my tutor. Throughout my application journey, he had asked me on and off, how's the process going? Just keep trying. I know you are capable of that. And the like. At times, his words felt comforting. Other times, they hurt. Because I fear that he was offering hope where there was none. In Chinese, we call it 画饼. But when I told him the news, he replied me, "Congratulations, I knew you would succeed." And in that moment, I realized how powerful the belief can be. Not only his support, but also that of my overseas and domestic friends, and those who supported me in small and large ways. Even what seemed like empty reassurance gave me strength to step forward one more time, to apply one more time. It reminded me of a character I saw when I was very little. A miner digs tirelessly but stops just before striking gold. Sometimes we simply need someone to whisper, "Keep going," and move forward one more step. Another thing I learned is the persistence. Maybe it sounds like a little bit cliche, but I want to see it from a different angle. Persistence does not mean insisting blindly. It also means being open to possibility, to change. While chasing one path, allowing yourself the space to explore others. Set limits, not as the ultimatums, but as the thresholds of clarity. One of my favorite podcasts called The Psychology of Your 20s. I don't know whether you've heard it before, but I strongly recommend it. Said, our 20s are for chasing dreams. We're old enough to understand some consequences vis-a-vis the teenage self, but young enough to still choose to risk compared to our middle-aged self. In other words, probably this decade invites us to try freely and fully. So the next point, I want to expound on time management. During those silent months, I try to stay in motion, not necessarily toward a specific result, but toward meaningful days, making them accountable. I taught languages online, studied French and Spanish, learning basic programming, went to the gym regularly, and read classics in English and Chinese every day. These daily rituals kept anxiety from overtaking me to some extent. Even if nothing came from applications, I would not have regretted the way I lived those days when I recall the day on my bed. So they help. Finally, I want to make summary and throw further encouragement to you. This week, I met one of my besties who, despite doubts and pressure from her family, still continues to chase her dream. Her resilience reminds me that this video might not only about myself or about my experience or reflection, it can also be about those who are in transition, from education to employment, from what was to what could be. We often call it a gap. Sometimes the word gap in Chinese context is tinted with some derogatory colors, meaning the period which is vacant and meaningless. So in this way, I don't think the word is comprehended correctly. Not being in school or at a job doesn't mean your life is blank. Your value isn't defined by society's timeline, right? This is not an absence, it is a passage. And even if you feel like you're in that black box right now, keep digging, my minor friends. You are probably just one step away from that hidden gold. And even if there's no one around to give you the support and encouragement, be that person for yourself. To be the one who tries, who continues, and who believes. Okay, I've shared quite a bit with you. Hope you feel encouraged and supported right now. One last thing. If you liked the video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave any comments below. Stay tuned and turn on the notice bell for more of my vlogs in the future. Thank you and loads of love. Bye.